And dive into it, I want to ask you all a question. I want you to raise your hands if you've ever felt this. So does it annoy you when you see people, so people out in the industry, coaches, whatever, marketing people, using intangible language around content marketing? So things like add value, be authentic, all of that stuff, but it has no real practical application. Hand up if that bothers you. What about if when people who have been successful building their own brands, we've all seen them online, they all say, oh, I'm really good and do this and do that, and then they sell you something, and actually we all know it's not actually what they did. Who else has that feeling, yeah? Cool. And then what about when people push the importance of vanity metrics? So we've all seen them bragging about how great their TikTok following is. It's 1 billion trillion things, but they still can't run a business. Does that bother you at all? Or you get annoyed and go, that's not me? Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself with it. What upsets me is when I see brokers, they have great ability, but they are losing business because their visibility is bad and it's poor positioning. Who feels that in this room that you are really, really good, but you are losing business maybe, or not getting as much business because your visibility or positioning is off online? Every one of you in this room. The other thing that upsets me is I see brokers, they have little knowledge on content creation and they feel it's too hard for them, so they avoid it. They may even outsource it. Who in here feels like content creation is a bit more difficult than they expect? And then the third thing that breaks my heart all the time is when I see brokers, when they hide their personality because they feel that it's not going to be professional enough for the client and they might lose clients. If you have hit any of these 6, you are the type of person that needs to listen today, because I'm going to help you today, because this is the type of people who I work with. And my goal today is to make sure that you feel confident in using content marketing and not feel overwhelmed with it. It's actually really simple. So that's my goal for you today. It's going to be really practical, and we're going to unpack a load of stuff. My name is Ash Borland. I am a sales and marketing coach, and I've helped mortgage brokers over the years improve their impact and income. I've worked with about 500 advisors over the last 6 years. I focus predominantly on improving both your marketing, your sales, and your operations, and it's to try and create effectively a business that you want. And over these years, we've seen crazy results. And all of the stuff I want to do and share with you today is the stuff that I've done with my clients. So there's nothing I'm hiding today, and I'm an open book. So let's dive into the content. So understanding the lead game. Now, how do we actually get leads? Now, we get leads in a number of ways. The first one is we can buy them. Okay, so we can buy them, we can go to a lead provider. I probably wouldn't if it was me, but you can if you want. The second one you can do is you can run ads. So you can run ads, and those ads are going to target people on Facebook. You could do Facebook ads, you could do Google ads, you could do Instagram ads, you could do LinkedIn ads. That's one way. The other way is introducers. So you can have people referring, IFAs referring to you. And the final one is you can actually create your own. The thing that's really important to point out with this, as a reality check, is that every method relies on a brand and it relies on content. And it's either yours or someone else's. So if you buy leads from somebody, all you're doing is jumping to the end of that funnel. But that lead provider had to have built a brand, created content, done all the stuff that he was telling you about before. They had to. So you're paying to effectively shortcut it, but you are leveraging someone else's brand. So they're never going to be great clients. Running ads, same thing. When you run ads, sure, they might be targeted to you. You might be the content. They might come to your website. But really, the brand and the brand loyalty is built on the platform you're running ads on. It's that they trust Facebook. It's that they trust Instagram. It's that they trust LinkedIn or Google. And this is really important to understand. And so businesses who leverage or brokers who have all their business come from estate agents, they come from running ads, they come from buying them. These are just alternatives of effectively outsourcing and buying leads. Because we've all been estate agents where they absolutely destroy us on commissions with that. 30% of it is ridiculous. So all of these are the same. The final one at the bottom is creating your own. And as I said, you may as well start building your brand now, because that's what everyone else has already done. So you may as well start today. So what content does work, and more importantly, what doesn't? Well, let's talk about what doesn't work. The entertainment trap is what I call it. This is what does not work. Now, we've seen this before. These are the people who use trending audio. They're trying to be entertaining. They're trying to be funny. All of this stuff, you're dancing on TikTok, twerking, all of that. This is a big problem for brokers and financial professionals in general. And the reason why it's a big problem is because we have got confused as to who we're trying to reach with it. Let me explain. The reason why entertainment is important is because that is what people use for escapism. So when people go online and the content we consume individually in this room, we're probably going, it's been a really busy day today, I need to get away, I'm going to scroll through my video, and I'm going to disappear into whatever it is I want to watch on social media. But that's not what your clients are doing for you. The reason why you get told to do those things is because you've listened to your nieces, your nephews, your children, and they are all 18, maybe 14, to maybe 23, 24, and they are telling you what works for them. And the last time I checked, first-time buyer alone is in the age of 30 at this point, plus. So why are we listening to people who are never going to buy anything from you? Plus, do you genuinely think that you are going to be more entertaining than a funny cat video or a guy falling off a bike? No, you're just not. And so we look at these likes, these shares, these comments, these views, and we think, that's what I need to do. And we don't need to do that at all. Big example of this, what I see all the time. So I work with people over the years where they have bring on marketing apprentices. Marketing apprentices by default are young. So they come in, they like to do the marketing stuff, they've got all these great ideas, they get you on TikTok, and you're a wealth advisor talking to people who are 55 with pensions. They're not on TikTok. So what should we post? What we should post is authority-driven content. Authority-driven content is what you do. You are advisors. You give advice. It's not sexy, it's not, quote, interesting, but it's interesting to the people who need it. I recently, so I know I'm getting older, I recently herniated a disc. And when I herniated a disc, I went onto YouTube and I searched how to, or the weird exercises, you know, the things, I don't really know they are, those weird exercises that you do to get rid of a herniated disc. I was not going, oh, this guy isn't twerking while he's telling me. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't going, oh, he's not got trending audio, and oh no, it's 40 minutes, not 18 seconds. I had a problem, and this guy apparently solved the problem. So I watched his videos. I also have an autoimmune disease. I did the same thing for that years ago. If I want help from a doctor, I don't want a guy who looks young, fresh-faced, and he's got a really cool lighting and camera. I want a guy that looks overworked, tired, and looks like he's barely had time to eat for the last 3. You'll be great. So I want that look, because that's a real person. And that's who you guys are when we look at advisors. When I want wealth advice from people, from mortgage advice from people, I need to see you exactly how you are. That's all it needs to be, okay? And so with your content, that's what we need to be focusing on. Now, the issue I find with content, and this is something that's separate on this, is, and I love this quote, which is, don't make what can be measured matter, make what matters measurable. So I see lots of people all the time talk about this where they go, oh, I've got this many views, this many likes, this many shares, this many conversions, all these type of things. We as humans put merit on things we can track. But have we ever stopped to think, do those things actually matter? Because if you go down the route of, I want to have more views, I want to have more likes, I want to have more followers, then you will go to the entertainment trap, and then I will see you in 2 years' time on Discovery Call going, it's not working. And that's what I see. And a lot of the people who you'll see that's got big followers, we all talk, and they're all in our calls going, it's not working. So let's talk about prospects then. And this is just understanding, laying the land of where you're at. So prospects is what I use this when I work with my clients. I call it, there's 2 types of prospects we need to understand. What we have is we have active prospects and we have passive prospects. We need to understand these when we understand content and the behavior that people react, how they use our content. So let's talk about active prospects for a minute. Active prospects are people who are in the market for a mortgage right now. They need a mortgage right now, and they are looking for somebody to help them. And so an active prospect is somebody that's scrolling through social media, wherever they may be. They are the people you're targeting in the ads. They're the people who you're getting on those first 3. When we're running ads, buying leads, or using introducers, they're all active prospects. They're great. And your content, funnily enough, is not for them, because they'll come to you no matter what, most of the time. What we need to be focusing on is passive prospects. So if you think about this, most people, when I work with people, I say it takes 18 months to see results. Truthfully, it actually takes 5 years, which is not an easy sell. When you start making content, your goal is to educate people and to start to make them see you as this authority. But most of the people who are in your feed, be that Instagram, Facebook, most of those people are going to be passive prospects, meaning that they are locked into some form of deal. If they're in a 2-year fixed rate, they can't do anything for 18 months. So you could market to them every single day and bitch and moan for the next 18 months that no one's commenting on your stuff, but they physically can't do anything. And nobody is going, oh, great, yeah, I'm going to comment on that video when I don't need a mortgage, I don't need you right now. No one's even caring. And that's why we need 18 months normally, because by 18 months, people would have started to fall off those cycles and you will start to see the results. Why 5 years? Because realistically, most of us have put our clients over the last few years onto 5-year fixed rates. And so there's a 4.5-year window of where they are passive prospects. Just because they are not in the market for a mortgage right now doesn't mean they won't be later. And please, whatever you do not think that because you did a mortgage for them once, they instantly become your client. When I work with clients, with my clients, I say to them, the moment that deal is finished, they are not a client of yours again anymore. They're not your client. This stupid thing about I've got an existing client bank. You don't. You don't have an existing client bank. You have to earn that client for the entire relationship. They become a prospect again, and you have to earn the right for them to come back to you in 2 to 5 years' time. And you see all the time, this is old school mentality. And then we moan that the lender stole the client because the lender, they've been logging into their app every single day to check the amount, and then sent them updates and tried to flog them 1 million credit cards and all this, whatever they've done. They have a much bigger relationship with the lender than they do with you if you're just not doing anything. So your marketing is actually designed to go after passive prospects. And they are the lifeblood of your business. So active prospects, passive prospects. Now, how would a passive prospect engage? Less than 3 seconds. Ash, mortgage, no. Ash, mortgage, no. Ash, mortgage, no. And you'll get the gist. 4.5 years of Ash, mortgage, no. Ash, mortgage, no. Ash, mortgage. And then one day they'll go, Ash, mortgage, oh, actually, probably do. But you've become, or someone will go, do you know a mortgage broker? Actually, yeah, there's this guy that won't shut up online. You'll know that that's the goal. And I'll tell you how you know it'll work. Everybody around your family and friends will tell you to shut up. They'll be like, can you stop posting that? You need to drown them in what you do and re-educate everybody in your social circle and your network that you do mortgages or wealth. If not, you will be losing business. So, how should we be using our content? Well, and content as a sales tool. We need to do this thing called persuasion. You ever heard of persuasion before? So, persuasion we all know, but persuasion is where you are effectively persuading them before they even realize. So that your content is designed to get people to learn about you and your process and how you work. If you know you charge a fee, they should be learning about how you work. Oh, we only do discovery calls on Zoom. So you're doing that, your content is effectively one step before the discovery call. That's how you want to use it. It's a sales tool. It's the beginning of the client journey. So it's less about trying to find trending content or things that rank, but the way to look at your content is like this, which is, who is your ideal client? What is your process? Your content should reflect that. You need to know who your ideal client is, niche, and process. And when you know those two things, so ideal client plus process, that equals your content strategy. That's what you should be talking about. Because that means that everything you make is warming people up so that when they get on the call with you, they're like, oh yeah, here's the documents, here's everything I know you're good. I've already said to you here, I'm doing it right now. Some of you in this room may, in a few years' time, be clients of mine. Some of you will, some of you won't. This is a small world, it might happen. I've already told you it's going to take 5 years. It's already part of it. I've already dropped in, it takes 18 months, but it might take 5 years. So straight away, if any of you speak to me, you're going to go, oh, I know when I speak to this guy, it's going to take me a long time. That's part of it. Ideal client, which is all of you, my process, what I'm talking about. So how do you find your ideal client? So what not to do? Let's talk about that first. I actually worked in a group coaching thing many years ago, and there was a guy in there that was talking about his niche, and he said, I've worked with doctors. I'm working with doctors. That's what he said. And me being me and being cynical as I am, I was like, well, do you know doctors? No, I don't know any doctors. Do you know any medical history? Have you got anything? Have you worked in NHS? No. And I knew where we were going to go with the end of this. I was like, so why have you picked doctors then? And he said, oh, because they make a lot of money. I was like, oh, okay. We all do that. Everyone thinks that. Everyone goes, oh, okay, we'll pick that niche. That's what you do not want to do. That's the worst type of niche to pick. First-time buyer is actually probably the worst niche you can ever have. And the reason why, and I know see people's faces, and I'll tell you why. Everybody's face. Yeah, I know, right? I have done this, like I said, 500 people I've done with first-time buyers at this point. Now let me explain why. First-time buyer, everybody, they go, there's a gap in the market. I hate to tell you, there's no gap in the market. Every person's talking about it all the time. So that's the first one. The second thing with first-time buyer is that actually, they're not really a niche. Because there's such a huge demographic of people that you could have, there could be all different ones. You could be a first-time buyer doctor, first-time buyer lawyer, first-time buyer guy working at Tesco's. They could be self-employed. There's nothing that binds them together. So it's not a very good niche. And we pick it because we all know why we pick it. We think they don't actually know anything. We can get them on board and they'll be a client forever. And we can sell them all the insurance, but we're selling insurance anyway. So it doesn't matter. If we all do this thing, we all do it. And it's just a dumb niche. Best niche, by the way, if you like first-time buyer, move it slightly to first-time seller and you'll get a lot more. So what not to do is that. Don't pick what you like. Pick what you are good at. So what should you do? Well, firstly, the first thing is to pick something you know. So I'm a sales and marketing coach and operations coach for mortgage brokers. I originally had a mortgage brokerage and worked as a broker. My dad was head of compliance for some of the largest companies, well, largest corporates. So I know a lot about that thing. The reason why I say that is I didn't wake up one day and go, do you know what, I want to work with mortgage brokers and teach them how to do that. I didn't do that. The niche picked me. I looked at who I worked with, I looked at my skill set and my background. All my family work in financial services and have very high careers in it. I know a lot about it, and so I went to it. If you have, every one of you here will know an industry or a type of people or something, and I'll talk about which ones you can target in a second. You all have that. So don't just pick it out of the blue and think, I'm going to just pick that one. So what can you do? Audit your last 30 clients. If you want to find out who your ideal client is, look at your last 30 clients. And you want to look for patterns using what I call the niche triangle. So you are looking for the last 30 clients and you're looking at the first thing, which is the demographic. So what is their age? What is their income? What is their gender? What is their job type? Anything in the demographic. So you want to look at that. The second thing you want to look at in the niche triangle is you want to be looking at their psychographic. So this is more important than demographic. Well, they're all as important, but it's the one we miss. This is their beliefs, their mindsets, their emotional drivers, what actually matters to them. And then the third thing you want to look at is the geographic, which is the locality or the area. So it's where they're based. Your niche sits in your average of your 30 clients in the middle of that triangle. So wherever you seem to have the highest on all of those points that they seem to be, and you'll see trends. You will see these trends in that. And your marketing should just be speaking to those. Now, spoiler alert on this one, it changes. So you don't need to brand yourself as I'm the self-employed guy. You're just a mortgage advisor. But you monitor these and you make sure you know, and then you just make sure that anything you're talking about, anything you're making, anything you're putting out there, your lead magnets, your guides, they target to these people. And that you have a clear customer journey, so you're talking to these people about your customer journey.
How do we talk about those things in...
How would you talk about it? If someone's looking to upscale, we see this a lot with people who are like business owners. If you're doing self-employed, for example, the psychographic could be that we could look at, do they feel, I've worked with clients before where we worked on this idea of they feel entitled. They don't think they're entitled, but they are entitled. They believe that their parents had a really good life, and they had a big house and a big car and all that sort of stuff, and that I work really, really hard, and I deserve a big car and a big house, because I work really hard for it. What happens is the marketing goes to, do you feel like you are working non-stop? You put in all the work in, you feel you know you're successful, but you don't have anything to show for it. And you want to upscale yourself. Do you see what I mean? So that's a great use of psychographic, is we're actually tapping into the emotion of, I feel it's a parent emotion there. We get really deep into this, we can do, so it's not with everyone, but that's how you would do it. So you bring in what they actually feel. A lot of the times with clients, you're tapping into what they want, and a lot of the time that's led by some form of entitlement, if you're going to go into the psychographic stuff. Demographic and geographic is easy. I would say this to people, is I say that your niche is like Harry Potter's wand. It chooses you. You know that scene with flying everywhere? That's what it is. Sadly, you're my wand at this point. So that's what you have to think about, is that that's how we see it. So let's make niche even more confusing. You can have 2 niches, and when I work with advisors, I recommend you have 2 niches. We call it a dual niche strategy. So, first niche is local niche. And yes, being a local advisor is a niche. That just puts everyone's mind at rest when everyone's like, oh, I don't know what to talk about and what to do. If you are just the go-to advisor in Chelmsford, that's a niche. That is a niche on its own right. And actually, it's not only a niche, every advisor, in my opinion, should be their local niche. They should be their local dominant player. Even if you specialize in something else, which is the next one, you should have local as one of your niches. And this means you'll do anything from local. You'll do buy-to-let, limited company, you'll do first-time buyer, you'll do anything. Because you're the person in the community that everyone knows and loves and thinks is great. So that's the first niche. It's the easiest one to do. Facebook, hammer Facebook. Facebook ads are very easy for that as well, but hammer Facebook organically. Your profile is going to be the one that does that. Local Facebook groups, support events. You can do a podcast interviewing local business owners. All of that stuff. Local is the easiest one, and it's by far the first one you should absolutely nail down because you've already got kind of credibility and currency because you live there. The second niche is what I call a national niche, and this is solving a specific problem. This is a searchable niche. There's 3 main ones that are searched: self-employed, first-time buyer, and adverse credit. They are the top search things around mortgages. They're the easiest thing to build some form of specific niche in. Now, you'd go in a subset of that. You wouldn't go, I work with all self-employed, because you'd probably get screwed up. There's so much nuance in it, and it's hard to stand out. So you have to look at, can you compete in a smaller subset of that? But something you're very well known for and you're very good for, that would be a specific niche. Now, when you have 2 of these running, you would actually have different platforms running different things. So you might have YouTube, LinkedIn, if it's specifically designed for that. So YouTube, LinkedIn, so that on specific, search-based content. And then your local would be Facebook and local events, pretty much. The 2 of them running side by side stops a lot of things happening, which is what we noticed during COVID, where I had a specific client who was working in holiday lets. That weren't great when COVID hit. So just around that time, I was just pretty new actually to the space, and it was niche, and then holiday lets, no one can go anywhere. No one wants it, no one wants it. So they were buying houses, they were stuck. And they hadn't nurtured their local area. So your local is always going to be the one that's going to bring in the money, and the other one is one you build so that you can start charging those higher fees, you can start becoming an authority in it. And the specific one here, if you do it right, over a 3 to 5 year period, it becomes quite predictable with traffic. So you can end up doing really, really well. So choosing the right platforms and your content. So you need to understand different content strategies first of all. You have browse and search. Browse is content that is pushed to you. It's effectively what we call interruption marketing. Best example of this is like Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok, anything on YouTube where it is you log onto the YouTube homepage. So YouTube is everything on the homepage and everything down the side. That is browse. You didn't look for it, it just appeared. That's browse, and then search is something you actively look for. So that's something like how to get a mortgage as a first-time buyer. It's really important that you understand these terms. It's just in there so you know when you're making content what you're making them for. If you're trying to target a specific niche, for example, a specialist niche, you want to be doing search. So here are the platforms and which one you should use them for. So Facebook has a local community feel. It's really good for local niche. It's good, it's got groups and it's got posts. LinkedIn, it's professional and specialist. So it's going to be that specialist niche platform. You can target their job title realistic in that way. It's good for the national niche. It's good for authority posts. YouTube, it's long form education, it's search driven, and it's evergreen. So it's always going to be national niche. It's going to be that kind of specialist one. Instagram, visual and lifestyle. It's a mix of local and credibility. Instagram is really your online business card. It is my #1 platform for how I close most of my clients, and most of my clients will use it. You want to use Instagram, but it shouldn't be where you're going to get new people most of the time because the discoverability is rubbish. But you want to point them to that. TikTok, not a priority. Use if you enjoy it, not a must. So how do you find content ideas? Really straightforward. These are the places I go, exactly where I go. Google Gemini. Anyone used Google Gemini before? Great. Gold stars for those 2. Everybody else, No. So Google Gemini is Google's version of ChatGPT. It's rubbish, by the way. It's really, really bad, except for one thing, which is it is tied to Google and YouTube, which means when you ask it, you know your ideal client and you know their problems, and you say, what would be the most searched questions for somebody with this problem? It gives you exactly what the most searched questions are. Google Gemini, that's your easiest one. Once you've finished that, bin it off and use ChatGPT for everything else. The other one is client conversations. Your clients speak to you when they're talking to you and they're asking you questions, make a note of them and make content on them. If you've got your client dialed in and you know what they are, just make content on it. But we overcomplicate it. It's like, what should I do? What's the one that's going to get me the best algorithm and all that stuff? We don't need to worry about that. It's really not that complicated. Just write down, pen and paper, what they're saying, or however you want to do it. And then another one, who's heard of Fathom? So what Fathom is an AI tool. It's a note-taking tool that when you jump onto your Zoom calls or Teams calls, whatever it is you do, which you should be doing video calls with your clients for this reason alone, but also to sell more protection. If you use Fathom, it records everything you say and everything they say. It does a video of it, but it also does notes of it all, so it gives like notes for the clients to look at. But you can take the transcription. I'll have a discovery call with a client. If it's really good, I take the transcription, I put it into AI, and I say, this was a discovery call I just had, and it was awesome. Can you please write me an ideal client avatar for this? And then I say, and then can you give me 5 questions or 10 questions of what they asked and what they would probably want to know? By the way, when I have a discovery call, I do the exact same thing. I say, this was awful. I thought this client was a prick. Can you write me an ideal client avatar of what this person is and all of the pieces of content I should make to tell this person to off? That is the same type of thing, because your content should attract and repel the wrong people and attract the right people. And this, super simple, and it's actually free. There is an upgraded version if you want the paid one, but the free one's great. Those are the 3 places to get your content from. You don't need anything else. You genuinely do not need anything else. Everything will come from that. You need to trust in what you know. Use AI to get the most search questions, client conversations to get those browsers, get that to get an even better version of the client conversation. So how much should you post, which is always the question everyone wants to know. So how much should you upload is way more than you think. Most people ask about how much they should upload, and most of you are not uploading enough. Let's take Facebook just as an example. If you have 100 followers, it's going to show 5% roughly of your audience, the content you just uploaded. 5%. So if we are looking at 100 people, only 5 of those people will see the video. Video is what you need to post for this most of the time, is going to see the video. On average, it takes between 8 to 10, what we call brand touch points, before someone recognizes what you do and associates it with you, meaning, oh, you're Ash, the mortgage broker. And then when they're ready, they'll use you. It takes around 8 to 10 of those touch points. Now, if you're uploading a video once a week, that would mean that if you uploaded it, it would take 8 weeks if all 100% of people were seeing it. It'd take 8 weeks for someone to go, oh, okay, they do mortgages. Now we add another layer on top of that, is that but only 5% are seeing it. So what is the chances of the same 5% seeing the same post over an 8-week period? Nearly 0. This is what we need to understand is, it's a numbers game. Our job is to get everybody from 1 to 8 as fast as we possibly can. And you only do that by uploading loads, which is 1 a day minimum. You need to be doing 1 a day on social media, and then lots in the stories and other engagements as well, so engaging with people. But if you're doing less than Monday to Friday, which is what I like giving my baby steps to people when I'm working with them, if you're doing less than Monday to Friday, it's not going to work. If you've been in the industry for over like 5 years, we will all know, we go, social media's not really working. Been doing it for a long time, but nothing's really coming of it. What it is it's that you're doing, with social media, to make it work, there really is a point of, from like 1 video to 5, it actually doesn't work. And so if you've been doing like 3 a week for years, thinking you're building your brand, you're not actually doing anything. You're just throwing this content into an abyss. The reason why 5 works is because all of a sudden we start hitting that number. There's 5%, the numbers stack up. So if you want to generate leads through social media, you need to commit to it all in. You've got to do the burn the bridges, burn the boats kind of strategy. If you are outsourcing your content, which is fine if you want to, but if you're outsourcing it, and this is the reason why outsourcing doesn't normally work, is a lot of times we outsource to tick a box in our brain to say, I've got that done and I'm going to focus on the job, which is writing business. Not realizing that your job is not to write business, because if you get good enough, you're going to scale out and give that to somebody else. Your job is to generate leads and build a brand. And that means that all your focus should be on pumping out content as much as you possibly can.
If you found this session valuable, make sure to check out my keynote on how to build real authority online as a broker. In that session, I break down the exact types of content you need to create, what to talk about, and how to position yourself as the go-to expert in your space. Watch that video next. It's the perfect step after this one.